Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, how are you doing? Welcome back to Masks, a New Generation on CharismaToAC. I'm Daniel. I'm your GM for tonight, running this particular campaign of teenage superheroic shenanigans in the Mask system by Magpie Games. And I am joined tonight by a group of wonderful people. Now, we're 2 players down, but that's fine. We'll continue playing, but we've not played in a while. We haven't played since October, so we may need to kind of like just, take a little while to get the wheel spinning again, but that's fine. We'll go around the people who are present and we'll introduce the characters, have people talk about who they are and who they're playing, and then we'll return to the comic book universe of Masks. So, starting off on the top, as we do, I'm joined tonight by Joan. Joan, hi, how are you doing?
I'm alright. I'm okay.
Alright, excellent. So why don't you give us the skinny on Diamond?
Okay, the skinny on Diamond. That's one way of putting it. Well, Diamond is the group's bull, meaning that she's the powerhouse with lots of physical strength and damage resistance and so on and so forth. She has her stats are as follows. She's got a freak of -1. She's got a danger of 3, and that is locked, so no more changey danger. She's got a savior of nothing, of 0. She's got a superior of 2, a mundane of 1. We don't usually mention such things as active moves, as I recall.
Nah, it's fine. I'll just
exactly.
hang up on those that are
Yeah.
key to the character. Like, for example, you have a special move for being a bull called the Bull's Heart.
Exactly, and conditions as well. I have 2 conditions at the moment. We usually get to those as well, as I recall. Angry and guilty.
Yeah.
And the Bull's Heart, as you mentioned, is Bull's Heart is it's a special move, or it's not really a move. It's a status more than anything else for the bull.
It's a playbook move. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's it means that she's got a love and a rival, and her love is a friendship. Can have different versions of them, but it's a friendship that she shares with Starlight, who is played by Aya and therefore isn't here today. And her rival is Finn's mother, Palla, whom she detests a great deal, and she's got an enabler relationship with her, as in basically Diamond wants to drive her up the walls.
All right, cool stuff.
Well, first she wants to drive her up the walls, and then she wants to punch her through them. But
I mean, this is what you do, right? This is being the bull. First, drive them up the wall, then drive them through it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. Thank you. Next up, I'm also joined tonight by Thalmid, who's playing Nightshade. How are you doing, Thalmid?
Pretty good.
All right. Tell us about Nightshade.
Nightshade is the group's Janus, so he has to deal with balancing superhero life and real life. Currently, I'm at a freak of -2, danger of 1, savior of 3, which is locked, a superior of 3, and a mundane of 3.
All right, solid stuff.
Mm-hmm. One of the advancements I picked up was also drives from the Beacon playbook.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
So my current drives are make out with a teammate, tell someone your true feelings for them, kiss someone dangerous, and lead the team successfully in battle.
Interesting. Who does Nightshade hope to make out with on this team?
I think we all know it's probably going to be Sparrow at some point.
That's not true. We all know it's going to be Finn.
In the fanfic version.
Sail!
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. I feel the same way, Joan. Don't worry about it. But yeah, like it's true. It's pretty obvious that like this is what he's striving for, right? Like if there's insofar as he's aware of how he's feeling because teenager,
Exactly.
then yeah, it's the childhood crush, right?
Right. I am also have the conditions angry and guilty.
Interesting. All right, cool. Last but certainly not least, I'm joined by Comrade Brain, taking on the role of Vigil. So, Brain, what's up? How's it going?
Hello. It is me.
It's true.
I am
It's our
playing
Brain.
Finn. Finn is a representative of the Legacy Playbook, which is all about interacting with your legacy, fulfilling or not fulfilling expectations of it, and he's also known as the potential NXP farm.
Yes. These
he
are all
is-
true things.
Yeah, his labels are Freak at -1, Danger at -1, Savior at 2 locked, Superior at 2, and Mundane at 3 locked.
All right.
And I believe he has no conditions to speak of.
Let's find out. Yep, that looks right. Okay. So no conditions. Very good. So, let's talk a little bit about where we're at. Now, normally I would just wing this, but in this case, because it's been a little while, I have written us a love letter. I've written a love letter to the defenders to remind us where we're at and what I'm interested in as your GM. This is not like a mandate from heaven, denoting what you must think of, but more like where I feel like things are at. And then you can use that to gauge where you feel like you're at. So I'm just going to read to you my little love letter here. Dear Defenders, when last we left you, you had just defeated Morrigan Le Fay by teleporting her far away using her own magic. You stood up to one of Halcyon's most powerful witches and prevented her from abducting White Sparrow. A damn fine job for any group of superheroes, no less so for a group of teens. With that said, it was far from a perfect victory. To say it came down to the wire would be an understatement. Vigil, you stood up to one of your order's most formidable enemies, but it also became clear to you that these witches' magic are strong against the powers bestowed to you by the Lady of the Lake. You even found yourself captured during the fight. As one of this team's, as the one on this team with the most fighting experience, how does that make you feel? This is like I'm just trying to provoke how asking you to think about these things. You're not
Of course,
don't feel
of course.
compelled to answer if you don't have an answer.
The question was just it snapped for me a little bit.
Sorry, did you not catch the question or?
Not entirely.
Oh, I just said that these witches' magic seems strong against the powers that have bestowed to you by the Lady of the Lake, and you even found yourself captured during the fight at some point. As the one on this team with the most fighting experience, how does that make you feel? Ruminate on that question, right? This is what I meant when I say this is what I'm interested in, and then I fully accept that you're driven towards whatever you're driven towards. Nightshade, what in the world was that thing? That threatening creature that seemed as though it emerged from your out-of-control powers. With considerable effort, you captured it and handed it over to Aegis. But where did it come from? It called you brother. What could it want? What does it know about you? And how do you feel about Aegis having it? Diamond, I wonder what went through your head when you decided that you would try to partially melt yourself into a magic conductive battering ram and slam Morrigan's barrier in just the right way that you could throw its energy out of whack, sending her tumbling through a portal. Whatever went through your mind, that bold idea probably saved your friend. but it cost you an arm. With Van Halen's people already canvassing Halcyon City for you, how long can you last in this condition? That's my little love letter to you.
Yes,
I like it.
indeed. So do I. I still say that we need to get a hold of that guy whose name I've now long since forgotten, that we met underneath that building.
The guy who coded you?
Yes, exactly. I should kind of like for him to be able to rebuild my arm.
Professor Riley Newman was his name.
Yes, that was the one.
Yes. Now, when we left, you had this big showdown. We had a big showdown with Morgan Le Fay, and you sent her tumbling through aforementioned portal by hitting her portal just right so as to rebound the powers therein. Now, when that happened, when the fight had come to an end, you went separate ways. Vigil, you took the now raven form of White Sparrow, who has been hexed into the shape of a raven, and brought her with you to Vigil headquarters. Nightshade and Diamond, you both went to Aegis headquarters. So, though it would be convenient to start us off with the team fully united and doing stuff to push for a centralized direction, I want to kind of acknowledge this, that you went these different places and that you are probably doing stuff in those places. So I feel like I'll start us out this issue. If we flip to the first page of the issue, we just see a shot of Halcyon City from the air, and we see a construction site that is totally ramshackle. We see destroyed buildings in the periphery, and we move from that establishing shot to a panel of construction workers doing fine work. Halcyon City is a city that has had multiple generations of super beings in it, and so has grown very accustomed to having to rebuild, essentially, right? There's the existence of super beings, super villains, and the heroes defending the city against them has been become a part of life, and so the city is very quick to adjust to these wild freak shows that happen every now and then. So we see just a crew of construction workers working with suitably interesting looking equipment, walking around and basically cleaning up in the aftermath, in the ground zero of your fight. And they're having a conversation, right? Some innocuous Tarantino-ing. They're just throwing banter at each other, talking about their days and what's going on. But the part we're interested in and the part that we're focusing on is them is two people, right? Some African American gentleman and a Latino fella, both hanging around in orange security vests and hard hats, talking speculating on what happened here last night because they don't know. Nobody knows. They're speculating on what happened, talking back and forth and making guesses at who must have fought here, because clearly someone has, right? And they're making guesses, and one of them ends up saying, you know what, with this kind of the way this looks, everything you can see is I've seen this before. Everything is clearly been thrown around by someone very strong, but you will also notice that no one got hurt, as far as we've been told. I guess it's one of the one of the A-listers. You know what I mean? One of the heroes from back when I was a kid. Man, those guys.
The myth.
Those guys really knew what was what. And his friend, this Latino fella, shakes his head at him. Is no, man, no. I don't know what you're thinking, but I don't think it's like that. This idea of superheroes and super beings being these immortal, invincible, godlike beings, these super celebrities, I don't think that's ever been the case. And this African American gent shakes his head back at him, is you don't know what you're talking about. I would love to be among those. Can you imagine it? Life like that? being able to soar across the sky, being able to save people from a burning building, being able to live life the way you wanted it. I can't imagine a more carefree, more unburdened life than that, he says, smiling dreamily into the middle, staring dreamily into the middle distance. And from then, like, the following panel is just like a smash cut, basically, like it's a smash cut to Diamond sitting in an infirmary bed, missing an arm.
Well, not only that, but as I recall, she actually she shut down.
Yes,
last
you
time.
did.
So she might be sitting in a hospital bed, but there's nobody home.
You're sitting in what is clearly like a high tech, very sanitary, very like white walls and a lot of open space place, right? And it's probably like some kind of combination of an infirmary and a machine shop.
Probably, yes.
And it's just like it's not like a shot that like continues a longer trailing series of panels about like what are you doing sitting in the bed, because as you said, you are shut down. And you probably were still are.
I think so.
It's just
I think
this
she's
juxtaposing
probably
thing.
I think she's probably, she's got it's not that she's completely shut down. There's she's probably running a lot of internal diagnostics over and over and over again, and constantly coming up with error, no arm. But there is nobody home. If anybody outwardly, she looks like she's just shut down.
You're dreaming. You have no like. This is what that is, right? Like,
hey, do androids dream of electric sheep?
Your loading like spinny ball like is definitely a sheep like giving off static electricity.
Yes.
No, no, you're dreaming of Apple OS.
No, bad.
But
so we just have this shot to be like, yeah, as if superheroic life even for a teenager is carefree. And we see that we're like in Aegis headquarters, and we move from the panel showing you just like sitting in that hospital bed, like wearing some kind of like clinical gown, with like tubes and wiring sticking out of you. We see like a hallway and a bunch of people in suits and like officious looking types. We get like an inside shot of Aegis headquarters, which is like a lot of wide hallways, panoramic glass ceiling business going on. And we see like moving in this hallway, we find you, Nightshade, walking next to Agent Wilson, who is basically like our comics face of Aegis, right? Like this is the Aegis agent so far that has a name.
Agent Coulson!
So he's recurring. Yes. It's
our version of Agent Coulson.
Exactly.
I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. lately, so...
So I think we find the two of you walking and talking. When you arrived at Aegis, they brought you in because you elected to stay with them, instead of just being like you can get out of here, right? He offered you the choice to basically leave and leave the place as you found it, but you stuck around. So now you were brought to the place. He's not like been hounding you with too much in the way of questions, right? When you arrived, some people carted Diamond away, and you were told to like deal with that. Like, can you go to like be with her? No, you cannot. Just like let them do what they do. And now that like a moment of time has passed, like it's been the following day. It's like morning the day after. You've been taken to come and see Diamond. And so Coulson is like, not Coulson. No, now I have Coulson. Now you made me do that. Thank you. Wilson is moving down the hallway talking to you. And he's basically like he's telling you, right, like he's bringing you with him in order to make sure nothing gets out of hand.
Okay.
And he doesn't want to like scare you, right? So he doesn't want to scare you, but he also tells you that this isn't the first sentient death robot they've had in here. So they want a familiar face there for when she wakes up in a laboratory full of people in weird gowns and has a panic attack about being back in the glass tube. She wants you.
Right.
They want you there.
How very considerate of them.
So we like just like you, if you want to like ask him questions, if you feel like Nightshade has like a participation in the conversation beyond just like nodding and agreeing, like now is a good time, right? You want to throw something at this guy, you want to ask me questions about the fiction, or tell me what you've been doing up until now, right? Like ever since last night. Now is the time. Otherwise, we'll just move directly into the infirmary.
Yeah, I think Nightshade's probably been by himself, trying to avoid everybody since he couldn't be with Diamond while she was getting repaired. But as he's walking with Wilson, he just like, so if she does wake up and attacks, what happens past that?
Well, if she wakes up and attacks, we will do our best to pacify her, of course, he says. And like, he doesn't mean to, but you catch it, that he cuts off too soon. Right?
Right.
He neglects to mention the part where, and they make ready to destroy her if they can't.
Yeah. Well, is she doing okay?
From what I've heard, she's stable, which is a weirdly meaningless term when you're talking about, let's be honest, like someone who isn't exactly biologically composed.
Right.
I have heard that from what I've heard, it's supposed to be structural damage at the most.
But you'll be able to fix her, right?
He kind of like gives you the worst attempt at a reassuring smile, but doesn't commit to saying yes. And yeah, his silence probably bites a little bit deeper than anything else.
Right. So like Nightshade catches on. He's like, looks down. He's like, right, and he just continues on.
Very sophisticated. He just comments. She's very, very sophisticated person. And we get a panel of like some like infirmary door, right? It's just like a piece, like a wooden doorway, and pushes it up, and you see Diamond as we saw her in the shot before, seated, clearly out of it, in what like she's halfway like propped up as though she's like awake, as like you would find like a medical patient seated in a hospital bed. But she's kind of like hunched over at a point that's just like balanced for her body weight. And then she has like a bunch of cables protruding from her person.
Does she at least have 2 arms at this point?
You have 1 arm.
Yes, they haven't actually reattached it. No.
There is less of your arm now than there were yesterday, because
your
arm was like broken apart, right? So they've
of course
dismantled what.
Yeah, they've taken apart the pieces basically, so that there is at least something, some fresh things to put the eventual replacement onto.
Precisely.
Right, and I'm imagining like the pieces are laid out on like a cart right next to the bed. Like there's a dismembered arm right there.
It's not. Yeah, it's definitely in the room. Because I think like in my mind, I'm imagining this as a combination of like a machine shop or like some kind of high-tech laboratory, comboed with like an infirmary. Right? It's not like superhero or super villain level, but it's like government-funded superhuman interest agency level.
Right.
So it's placed in some kind of like a metal slab in the room that has like a blue panel on it that lights up for some reason. So it's cast in some kind of weird blue light. Right?
I don't
artistically made.
I don't imagine that there is actually a machine that goes ding in there, and certainly there won't be one of those things that aren't actually in real hospital rooms, but are in all the TV and movie hospital rooms where you can see someone's heart rate. That wouldn't make much sense.
No, there isn't, but there is, instead of being that, there is like the same setup we would expect of like a hospital where you would have a heart rate monitor. Yes. But instead of that, it just has like a bunch of scrolling data on it.
Yep, and probably a monitor of her electrical levels.
Yeah, Right, like that's basically what it is. And there's a machine that asks if you want any toast.
Yes.
But beyond that, no, she's basically like been. This is probably like, I don't know how you feel about this. I imagine maybe like it feels. I feel like the shot is painted in like an invasive way, right? She's her modesty is covered in this like hospital gown, but this is like the least human she's ever looked, because like she's like ports on your person. Like you normally look perfectly human, but now like there are these cables that are like in places where you apparently have ports for cables.
Yes.
Like that we don't normally see. So you're like this halfway pulled apart where like suddenly bits of you that seemed human before now seem like shell-like, and we.
Yes.
It's.
I also imagine that at this point she's definitely, you know, the skin is absolutely see-through, so it really is, you know, a robot sitting.
It's like you being naked without being naked.
Exactly,
yes.
right? It's like pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We can't help it, right? That's what this feels like, right? The illusion is broken of the humanity, and yet we are familiar with Diamond as a very human character. So so that is what this feels like. But yeah, so we have that shot, and the Agent Wilson like looks to one of the scientists in the rooms, like kind of short, tall guy, like a short-cut red hair, thin glasses, like just looks over and like expectantly and smiles to you when you enter Nightshade. So is this it? He asks, and Wilson says, yes, power her up if you feel like it's safe, then power her up. And he kind of like, you know, like rolls his head a bit, right? He's like, I'm not entirely sure, but the output seems right.
Nightshade nervously looks around the room, like he knows that if she wakes up angry, this is not going to end well.
You notice like there's like some people placed in here who attempt to just like look as though they're not here, but they're wearing like layers of some kind of like metal alloy armor, like riot gear, and hold like trying to look inconspicuous while also holding like rifle weapons. But like they're trying to appear non-threatening. That's why they're like, we're guarding the door and not at all paying attention to the robot in the bed.
They are, in fact, holding something along the lines of, now that we, you know, on the topic of Agent Coulson and all that, I'll just send the image in there, you know, in images and artwork.
I mean, almost. It's not quite that. They haven't actually cracked. They haven't cracked the level 6 armory. Okay.
Well, that's okay because he's level 7. So
it's something like, I imagine something to the effect of that, like, you know, that that Overwatch trailer where that's like Winston focused, where Talon attacks and they have these like rifles with like taser guns on them. It's kind of like that, right? They're prepared to like try and deal with a runaway robot.
Yes.
So yeah, and they power you on. So we get like the internal shot of you, Diamond, as your subroutines like suddenly kicked into like forced initiation, right? And the extra diagnostics that you've been running kind of go in the background, and suddenly you wake up and you find yourself.
I think her eyes will probably go, you know, instead of red, which they normally do. I imagine this sort of blue glow from them as she raises her head a little stiffly, and you know observes everyone in the room without really moving her head any further. You know, she just scans the room.
Yeah. So what is your like? You get the chance to like have fun with this scene as much as you want to. You are in a laboratory. You are clearly like in a robotically speaking compromised position.
Yes.
And there, but like juxtaposing that imagery that is probably not particularly nice for you given your background. Nightshade is in the room with you.
Yes, I think the first thing that she says as she sits there, and this would be the first time that Nightshade has seen the blue glow in her eyes as well. But you know, because it's, as I said, it's normally when she does that, it's normally a red glow. and she looks. She just sits there for a moment, and then the first thing that comes out of her is a sort of a scratchy voice, almost like there's something, probably something slightly fucked up about her voice box as well. While we, she did suffer extensive damage there.
Oh, totally. That's
so
actually
she
go on.
So she does, she has this slight lag in her voice, and sometimes a word gets stumbled over and repeats the first couple of syllables maybe 2 or 3 times.
I imagine that's how you find out about the arm. Because
yes,
I imagine you noticing that, and then like running a quick repair job on your throat, and then while you're scanning for like damages, then it's like, oh yeah, like found damage in voice box repairing, and then it's like your arm comes up like, and it's missing.
I actually think that, as I said, that's more or less the constant subroutines that have been going while she was otherwise out cold.
Oh yeah,
the lack of arm. But what she will do is she will just sit there and say, with this completely scratchy voice, say, Unit D ready to receive input.
Oh, that's cool. Are you is this in fact like, do you need something to prompt your return to normalcy, or are you pulling?
I think she needs she needs some kind of jolts, something to boot up those subsystems. She's just been completely closed down. She does recognize him as not a threat. I have this mental image of her eyes, and in her brain there are these little boxes of facial recognition on each of them, and his is the only one which is green, and the box is green and says target friendly. All the others are like threat assessment low, threat assessment low, threat assessment medium, that sort of thing.
Totally. So
I think
go on.
I think Nightshade, like, once you say that, steps forward and kind of looks unsure. He's like, codename Diamond. Hot dogs are awesome. Pizza is terrible. Just like starts naming off random phrases.
Searching. Diamond. Unit D. Codename Diamond.
Like he just Nightshade shrugs his shoulders and looks back at Wilson like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Location Halcyon City. Affiliation Defenders of Halcyon. And then she just, blinks a couple of times, shudders slightly, and goes, "What the fuck happened to my arm?"
Oh, thank God. Just like sigh of relief. So
is that all that's left of it? She just turns and looks at the splinters.
Yeah,
like it's totally gone, right? Like it's like you just like have it's not that there is no arm.
There's a shoulder socket.
The shoulder, right? That's it.
Yeah, it's just a shoulder socket. Okay,
the full Elric.
Okay, this is not good. This is slightly Nightshade. This is problematic.
Yeah, Aegis assures me they'll be able to fix it. And I kind of like glance back at Wilson.
Wilson
looks like Wilson throws the hot potato to the scientist in the room, who's like looking at you non-committedly.
she looks to Wilson, and then she looks to them, and she's like, "Oh, this is Aegis. Okay.
Are you feeling all right?"
I'm missing an arm.
I'm terribly sorry about that.
Other than that, I'm like, yeah, well, I'm missing an arm. But I do have a suggestion. Well, 2 suggestions, actually. One, if you need, I'm sure you've already thought of this, but if you need, why don't you scan my other arm? In fact, why don't you scan all of me? Then you would know the blueprints and layout, and might be able to rebuild an arm a little easier. Or you could go out and find Riley Newman. He built me.
Wilson looks to you and says, "We already have agents looking for Riley Newman."
Oh, good. Excellent. I'm sorry. I should have anticipated that your organization would know something like that to begin with. Also, I'm missing an arm!
Yes, I'm terribly sorry about that, says the scientist person. we have attempted to scan your drives for information about your arm, but it is... well, I don't know that this is appropriate bedside manner, he says, like, looking to you half apologetically. There are segments of your... You will pardon me for being curt here. I assume that when you say, well, you could just scan my systems, you are aware of your condition?
Yes, I'm not human.
Good. He looks relieved, like, he wasn't looking forward to addressing that. Right? Like,
No, I know that I'm not human. I thought for a while that I was partially human. That I was programmed originally to think that I was human with some replaced bits. And then when we came across Riley Newman, I learned the truth that there is in fact absolutely nothing human in me, except possibly my personality. I try.
He looks uncomfortable, like he's not prepared to give emotional first aid. So like he's like, I should say something nice here, but I don't know what. So he retreats into science babble and starts talking about the situation.
Of course.
So it turns out that in your drives are quite a lot of heavily encrypted data that we can't access.
Oh, right.
Including, but not limited to, your deep core programming and some information about your structure. We have worked with, he says, gesturing to the table, where your arm is now, like, the line is assembled.
Yes.
We have worked with what you had to work with. But it's very advanced.
Yes, it's from the origins thereof is from a Black Op base called Area 52, and the woman who oversaw the project that created me, I was the fourth in the process, apparently, hence D, is a woman, or a colonel, as I should say. She's more colonel than woman. Elizabeth Van Halen. Her organization is the Joint Unit for Metahuman Pacification.
Wilson chews on his lip a bit, right? Like, he's not really been participating that much, but he chews on his lip a bit, and then he looks to the guards and the scientists in the room and says, "This is now classified information. You do not speak of what's been said in this room." And all of them, like, they exchange a look for a moment. They're like, "Well, okay, well, fucking hell." The scientist, who I still don't have a name for, but we'll make one up the moment we need it, basically continues, like, talking to you, right? It's like, okay, well, that makes sense. This, as I said, this is you're a very sophisticated Marvel.
Thank you. I believe I was meant to assassinate the president. I ran away.
Well,
I didn't want to.
How very heroic of you.
No, I think, if anything, it was not as much heroic as human.
Well, I'm more of an expert on this
Heroics.
human.
She says and smiles.
Well, also that he admits awkwardly, and then he says, so you should be able to regenerate your outward appearance relatively simply. I don't know that you're aware of this, but so you have, like, an internal generation of what is an advanced, like, polyalloy that mimics biomatter that secretes through ports in your endoskeleton.
Yes. It's liquid diamonds. That's where I got my name.
Wonderful. Well, in that case, I'll just be over here by the analytics in case you need me.
No problem.
I'm terribly sorry. I will keep looking into that arm situation.
Of course. And as I said, if you guys have any luck finding Riley Newman, and she says, and then she explains, we last saw him under was it the Verisign building? by the way, Nightshade?
They exchange
Yes.
uncomfortable looks.
I think that was where we found him, right down there where they were making all manner of nasty experiments.
So yeah, Wilson and this scientist person exchange uncomfortable looks, and there's definitely something not being said in this room right now.
Yeah, I think Nightshade's like, what? What is it?
They don't look like they're prepared to share that, but do you try to provoke them?
Yes.
Yes. I think that well, Diamond isn't, but I could understand why Nightshade would. Diamond is just talking quite innocently and
Yeah.
and trusting people because, yeah.
As you do.
Okay, look. We know what's underneath there. We dealt with the problem down there. We also know Ares serum wasn't being made in there. I vomited up something that was very unpleasant that probably contains Ares serum. I think you owe it to me to tell me what is going on.
All right. Give us a provoke. I think that absolutely counts. There is this like. So typically you can only provoke someone who's susceptible to what you're saying.
Yeah.
In this case, like they're. I feel like they would be susceptible, like for the reason of wanting to be accommodating and acknowledging that, like, you're a young hero. This is not easy. They've seen this before, right? So they are susceptible to this. In this case, I feel like. So give us a roll.
Sweet.
When you provoke someone, you use superior.
Awesome.
While he does that, Diamond tries to flex her now non-existent fingers and frowns.
All right.
It doesn't work.
Hey, there,
There it is. All right.
Woo, there it is.
So I feel like they tell you, but it turns out to be really shitty news. I guess that it depends on your point of view, but overall it is. And I feel like they just turn on a TV in the room, and there's like a screen that's currently turned off, and like just click activates it, and it just jumps directly to like a news report. And it shows like recorded footage, and it's like a repeat thing from like a continued report from the night before. And it just shows the essentially the molten crater of the VeriSign building.
Okay. Okay.
It's not exactly
alrighty
like
then.
someone dropped a bomb, but it's like been absolutely wrecked, and it looks scary.
Somebody did, strictly speaking, set off a small earthquake underneath that building.
Someone definitely did.
Oops.
But luckily, so this definitely feels different. Like the steel of the structure and like the way the components of it are like warped and bent in a way that's like decidedly unnatural. The building has been like hit hard by an attack that has left it like a scary skeleton.
So it's not us actually.
No, it's not.
Oh, excellent. Good. Then it's fine.
Uh,
Then I'm okay with the building being
You
gone.
didn't leave as many corpses as black bags can be seen from the helicopter shot.
No, that on the other hand is not okay.
So yeah, that's
yeah, I like turned back to Wilson, like, what happened?
we're currently investigating, he says, and kind of like have like splits. He looks like back and forth between you and the TV, and then turns the volume down on the TV.
Well, but the point here is that's obviously a damn tragedy. But Riley Newman had left the place. I mean, that's the point. We made a deal with him
Totally.
that he was allowed. No, she's saying this.
Oh,
She's saying this aloud. We made a deal with him that in return for him giving me the information I needed to complete the picture of, well, me, we let him go. It was a matter of well, striking a bargain with. I'm hesitate to say, but striking a bargain with the devil, and in any case, he's not the foremost person behind all that. That would be Colonel Van Halen. So
I hope you're right, and that Mr. Newman is not among the dead.
I certainly hope
Forensics are
not. That would
currently
be...
doing whatever they can to identify the corpses. It's turning out to be more work than ideal.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Nightshade,
Yeah.
where are the others? I mean, please tell me that we're not the only ones who came out of that horror alive.
No.
Well, you
Vigil
came out of it
has
alive.
Vigil has Sparrow.
Okay.
She is still a bird, and I'm not sure where Starlight's at.
That's problematic. I hope well, both of those things are obviously.
And I think I turn to Wilson after I say that and say that's classified.
Okay, so yeah, I feel like talking about like where is Vigil and where is Sparrow is like the perfect like it's the perfect panel to just transition to like okay, where are they actually panel.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like the following panel is a shot of Vigil headquarters, right? So where do we find you in there, Vigil, when we see you in your legacy's lair?
I would imagine it would be either at the door or being led through the corridor like that.
All right.
With I suppose with Sparrow on his shoulder or something.
Sure. Let's imagine that Sparrow is being cooperative. So yeah, when you arrive, the custodian of the place like greets you, and like normally they like the people here like wouldn't stop and talk to you unless they wanted something from you, right? Like the members of the legacy would commune with you like in a regular manner, but in this case you're being told that the elder would like to speak to you at your earliest convenience.
Well, that's more polite invitation than I expected. Yeah, he would just be like, yeah, sure. Nothing else to do, I suppose. You just
Is that true? Like, do not feel urgency on the matter of your bird friend?
yeah, but even to access the means for it, I would have to talk to the elder anyway.
Ah, delightful. Okay, so we find you in you go into the office of the elder, which I imagine to be like an extension of some kind of like conclave room, right? Like it's like a council chamber, for when the operating
with a big round
members-
table.
Yeah, right. Exactly that.
I mean, it's an Arthurian thing, so obviously there has to be a large round table.
Right, but it's distended. I feel like it's like we get like a top-down shot. That's a really good idea of them having a round table, but it's not circular. It's oblong.
Okay.
Because
Well, that's still round.
yeah, but the idea here is that the order actually has an elder. There is a guy
Yes.
in charge of this particular
Yes.
chapter, which is decidedly like not what the round table was about, right?
No, exactly.
So I feel like there's like a nod to that in the depiction of that room. That like maybe things are not as we would want them to be from an idealistic standpoint.
True. All the more reason to dislike Pala.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you stand before the elder. He's when you come to him, he's standing before some kind of like statue of an Arthurian figure, probably like Sir Percival or something, and turns around to like look upon you when you come in. And we've like talked about how he looks before, but just to like reiterate, he's like, I imagine him being like normal in terms of like body build, like height and figure, but like with this very square, very like mean old face.
Yeah,
like short.
I
mustache.
had a like kind of a reference picture for them.
Oh, cool. Let's
It's
have a
somewhere.
look
It's in my bio.
Let's have a look in your bio. We can show our viewers what's up. Let's see. Ah, yes, that is... Yeah, that's actually kind of on point with what I imagine. So yeah, it's like broad chin, like the body of a formerly fit man who has grown a bit too old.
Indeed.
Yeah, like you can see on him that maybe he used to be quite a hunk. And you can also tell from his like sour expression that has probably never been the case in anything but a physical sense.
Yeah, and he's probably you can still see on him like the like quote unquote the sculpting. Just it's like a pulled leather.
Oh yeah, totally. So he gazes on you as you enter. And is there some kind of way that you would be expected to address the elder when you're called before him?
It's probably just elder.
All right. So he nods to you and he says, "My boy, sit."
I don't think I don't have time for long conversations. I have something on my hand right now, elder.
I understand. Sit. And he gestures to the council table.
Finn rolls his eyes and like, sure, yeah. He sits at the maybe like different chair than he's pointing to. Like,
sure, it's the small acts of rebellion.
Yeah.
So he sits down in the little bit taller chair at the little bit more center of the oblong,
Yeah,
or
well,
the end of the oblong. And he looks over you over steepled fingers and he says, "I have been in conversation with the other higher members of the order."
Well, that must have been fun.
This is not... I do not appreciate your attempts at humor, young man. This is something you will have to grow out of eventually.
Good luck. Well, please continue your sentence. Continue your thought. Let me interrupt.
It has been decided, given the events that have transpired over the past couple of months, and by your performance and the reviews that have been made of you in terms of personality and personal competency, a decision has been reached. Now, I'm just going to tell you like it is. You do not exactly have the right personality, my boy. I don't know where you've got this from. That is a lie. I know exactly where you got it from. You got it from your rules-despising mother.
You trained her well.
He doesn't acknowledge your point. He just continues talking. However, you have been doing an excellent job. You have shown yourself to be a competent and capable fighter. You have even exhibited certain qualities of responsibility. And it is not to be expected that you would act perfectly while being subjected to such imperfect conditions as you have been. It is not ideal for us that you do not take the Order's traditions seriously. This is something that can be mended in time. However, fair is fair. It has been decided that you will be elevated to full standing. Congratulations. As of now, you are a full and independent member of the Order. No less of rank than your mother or your peers. Your only superior in this place now is me.
Sure.
Good.
Now, two important things.
Yes, I agree. Now to important things.
I would like to request a assistance from our specialist on well, arcane problems and hexes. And
You know where the archive is?
well, yes, but I imagine the matters regarding the powers of, well, the Morganian witches were would require your stamp, quote unquote.
If you think I am going to withhold information from members of the Order from the archives, then you are wrong. You go, find it, find what you're looking for. However, whatever drives you to this this investigation of yours, it can wait. It is secondary. You have a more important task. You are now a full member. Full membership comes with responsibilities. It is no longer simply tolerable that you faff around doing whatever nonsense it is you spend your time doing. You will now uphold your duties as a full member of the Order, just as everyone else is expected to. We believe that there is a breach in the organization. We have substantial evidence to support this, but we need to make sure it is not enough that we simply find this person and detain that person. We must know what they're planning. We must know why they're planning it and who with. And he looks to you like expecting you like now is the time for questions. Before he continues.
We have already one traitor in custody. Why won't you ask him?
Not an immaterial thing in the consideration of your elevation to full membership.
I don't need this. I don't need the flattery, even as weirdly veiled as yours. I did what I had to. Speaking of enemies and traitors, I'm not asking for the access to the archive without a reason. There is a old force.
I don't believe I must not have made myself clear. I do not care. That obligation is secondary. Your first and foremost obligation to the Order is uncovering that particular traitor's plans and making sure that they are dealt with before they can strike a definite and destructive blow to the Order. Do you understand?
I'm fairly sure we have some internal, and he makes air quotes, police.
He shakes his head. This is a brotherhood. I know you've never been able to appreciate that. All the same, there is no other that is better suited for this investigation than you.
Why?
He touches like some buttons on the table, and a display flares to life with a rendering of your mother on it. No one can get closer.
Are you for real?
Oh, I love this. Hey, he is so respectful. I kind of expect him to be thrown out on his arse in a few seconds.
I'm like, are you for real now? Like, are you serious? Are you doing this right now? Are you really applying those tags and trying to make her a traitor now?
He pushes some more buttons. And you see a video display come to life. You recognize the scene, right? It is security footage of the place, right? It's of your headquarters. When something there's like a shot of the foyer, and then the doors explode. They wind up placed in a manner that seems familiar to you. and you see your mother walk into the building. You see security systems being activated. You see her destroying them. You see her interact with the command console, and you see the footage like shortening out and getting glitchy, and then finally stopping entirely. And it's at this point, because you're like, you have a keen eye, you've been well trained. You notice that the date is exactly the same date that all Vigil members were called to deal with the time rift when the monster attacked Halcyon High. It is basically like just before that, right? It's in that space of time.
Yeah, because I remember that she was there.
Yeah, it's basically like in the blank space of time between like when the Vigil would have left and when when they arrived on site. There's a reason there is no other people in this room but you and I, boy. This has to be done. No one can get closer to her than you. She will suspect no one less than you. You'll find out what she
to do.
Find out who she's working with. Find out what she intends to do.
And what if I find out? You expect me to what? Kill her? Put her down?
He squints at you.
He looks at him like serious question, like that's what he expected him to say. Right.
There will be no putting down of any of our members unless it can't be helped. I am not a heartless man. You will notice the arch-traitor still alive in his cell.
I was wondering why. They go talk to him.
He has no bearing on this, not beyond what we know. And besides, talking to him would flip our hand. If you want to go and talk to him about it, you feel free to. But don't compromise this. We have enough here to take your mother in, but why would we? Taking her in now might not stop whatever is in the motion. I know this is not an easy thing to ask of you. I know you treasure your mother. I know that her way of life has rubbed off on you in a way that I find undesirable. I know you've had to deal with that for a long time. I'm sure you feel justified in whatever you have been doing. But there comes such a time when it is time to grow up and recognize that our traditions have been traditions for 1,000 years for a reason. This kind of treason internally, whatever is going on here, whatever her plan is and whoever she's planning it with, cannot be allowed to proceed and cannot be allowed to come to fruition. Or you know what is at stake. You know what we are guarding. Now, deal with it. I expect your reports weekly. Now, archive, you said. You can freely roam the archives.
I don't like this man.
Who's taking care of the archives at this time?
You don't like a lot of Vigil people.
No, that's true. I generally don't like the Vigil. I like Vigil. I don't like the Vigil.
Is there like an archivist, right? Like some person who's like essentially like this place's librarian?
It used to be the person that was that I designated as my caretaker of my my house.
Cool. So in that case, there is such a person. So who is it now that person has stepped back and instead is just helping out at your place?
I don't know. It probably will be like one of the elders. Like it used to be always because it was like usually the elder that was the most like quote unquote reasonable, and you would like as a character you would say fun, was always pushed, or cookie or something like that. It was always pushed out. It's like, yeah, you will go take care of the archive. You will be elder of the archives.
Sure. In that case, I feel like this person is This person is probably like referred to as the remembrancer of the legendarium. And yeah, that person, like let's like their title, what you would refer to them as, is the remembrancer, even though they have like an actual name. Yeah, you can just freely go and talk to them. And yeah, Kimball, if you don't have any questions, if you don't have anything you want to do or say in this situation, he just like lets you leave the room, right? Like the meeting is adjourned. Welcome to the order. Here is your first assignment. It sucks. This is life.
Yeah, he probably would be on the back when he goes out. He would just ask Campbell like, "And are you sure you do not have any personal stake in this? You know, we are just us here."
I am head of this order. He says I'm head of this chapter of this order. I have a personal stake in everything that goes on here.
And is your personal stake more important than the stake of the vigil?
The vigil is my personal stake in this. This is my family. You are my son.
No, I'm not. My father died.
Like he knows you understands, and so he doesn't acknowledge what you're saying, right? It's like, no, I have a biological father. That's not what I'm talking about, right?
And he's not even a the member of Vigil by blood. He's just by oath.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not even related. Really, we are not related.
No, you're not in a family relation, right? But he is the elder of this place, and so he identifies as the father of all who serve under his roof.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that an Arthurian order would be inherently patriarchal.
Yeah, I think that's a
It
pretty
depends.
good guess.
I imagine there were elders, but
There's definitely female elders, but there would be the whole like someone in charge is definitely like the father of his chapter, right? That's in like figurative terms. So, tell me, what do you do?
Yeah, he will go to the archive first.
All right, so you go to the archives, and before we see what you find there, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more stuff. So let's I'm gonna take a break now. We'll be right back with more masks.